The transport shuttle docked with Station Meridian at exactly 800 hours. Dr. Hyunwoo pressed his face against the small window, watching as the massive structure came into view. He had seen pictures, of course, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. The station was enormous, a sprawling collection of rings and spires that housed thousands of beings from across the galaxy. Hyunwoo grabbed his research case and joined the queue of passengers heading toward the airlock. He was nervous. This was his first solo assignment off Earth, and he wanted to make a good impression. At 32 years old, he was one of the youngest xenobiologists in the Human Diplomatic Corps. His mission was simple: study genetic compatibility between species and help humanity understand its place in the galactic community. The airlock hissed open, and Hyunwoo stepped into a world unlike anything he had ever experienced. The main corridor was filled with aliens of every shape and size. Tall beings with blue skin walked alongside small creatures that scuttled on 6 legs. The air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres being carefully regulated by the station's systems. A holographic display appeared in front of him, showing directions to his assigned quarters. Hyunwoo followed the glowing path through the crowded corridors, trying not to stare at the incredible diversity around him. Humans were still new to all of this. First contact had happened only 50 years ago, and most species still viewed humans with curiosity or mild amusement. After settling into his small quarters, Hyunwoo decided to explore. His official work would begin tomorrow, but he wanted to get familiar with the station. He wandered through market areas where vendors sold strange fruits and glowing crystals. He passed entertainment districts where music from a dozen worlds mixed together in a chaotic symphony. Eventually, he found himself in a quieter section of the station. A sign indicated he had entered the botanical gardens. Hyunwoo smiled. He had always loved plants, even alien ones. He stepped through the entrance and stopped in wonder. The gardens were beautiful. Massive biodomes stretched above him, each one recreating a different planetary environment. He could see purple trees from one world, crystalline flowers from another, and floating spores that drifted like tiny stars. The air here was fresher, cleaner than the recycled atmosphere in the corridors. Hyunwoo walked deeper into the gardens, his eyes taking in everything. That was when he saw her. She was tending to a bed of silver plants that seemed to hum softly. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, with faint markings that might have once glowed but now appeared dull and lifeless. She had the general shape of a humanoid, with 2 arms and 2 legs, but her features were distinctly alien. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, a deep violet color that seemed sad even from a distance. Hyunwoo approached slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Excuse me," he said in Galactic Common, the trade language most species used. "These plants are fascinating. What world are they from?" The female looked up, surprise clear on her face. For a moment she seemed uncertain, as if she was not used to being spoken to. Then she answered, her voice soft and melodic. "They are from Talvex 4. They need very specific mineral content in the soil." "I'm Hyunwoo," he said, offering a smile. "I just arrived on the station today. I'm a xenobiologist from Earth." "Earth," she repeated as if testing the word. "You are human." "Yes, and you are?" "Yuna," she said quietly. "I am Velaran, or I was. I am the only one left." Hyunwoo felt a pang of sympathy. He had heard of the Velarans in his studies. They were an ancient species that had mysteriously died out about 30 years ago. Official records said it was a plague, but details were scarce. Before he could respond, a loud voice interrupted them. "Human, step away from that one!" Hyunwoo turned to see a large alien approaching. The being had orange skin and multiple arms, each one gesturing dramatically. Behind him, several other aliens had gathered, watching with interest. "I'm sorry," Hyunwoo said, confused. "That one is cursed," the orange alien said, pointing at Yuna. "All who get close to her suffer misfortune. She carries death in her blood." Yuna's face remained expressionless, but Hyunwoo noticed her hands trembling slightly. She had heard these words before, he realized. "Many times? That's ridiculous," Hyunwoo said firmly. "There's no scientific basis for curses." The orange alien laughed, but it was not a kind sound. "You humans are so naive. You have been in the galaxy for barely a moment. We know things you do not. That one has been rejected by every potential mate from every species on this station. Even her own kind would not accept her before they all died. There is a reason for that." Other aliens in the group murmured agreement. Hyunwoo looked at Yuna and saw resignation in her eyes. She had given up defending herself. Well, I don't believe in curses, Hyunwoo said, and I'd like to continue our conversation if Yuna doesn't mind. The orange alien shook his head in disgust and walked away, taking the others with him. Hyunwoo turned back to Yuna, who was staring at him with an expression he could not quite read. Why did you do that? She asked. Do what? Defend me. You do not know me. You do not know if they are right. Hyunwoo shrugged. I'm a scientist. I deal in facts, not superstition. Besides, you seemed like you could use a friend. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Then very softly she said, I do not have friends. Well, now you have one, Hyunwoo said with a smile. If you'll have me. Something flickered in Yuna's eyes. It might have been hope or maybe just surprise. She nodded slowly. I work here every day. If you wish to visit, you may. I'd like that, Hyunwoo said. I have a lot of questions about different species biology. Maybe you could teach me about the plants here? I could do that, Yuna agreed. As Hyunwoo left the gardens that evening, he could not stop thinking about the lonely alien he had met. Something about the situation bothered him. The way the other aliens had reacted. The strange rumors about curses. The fact that Yuna was the last of her kind. His scientific mind was already asking questions. Back in his quarters, Hyunwoo pulled up his research terminal and began searching for information about Valerans. What he found was frustratingly vague. Most records had been sealed or classified. The official story about a plague did not make sense. Diseases did not usually wipe out an entire species so completely. He made a note to dig deeper. Something about Yuna's situation did not add up, and Hyunwoo had never been good at leaving mysteries unsolved. He also found himself genuinely wanting to help her. There was something deeply wrong about someone being so completely isolated and rejected. As he prepared for sleep, Hyunwoo made a decision. He would learn the truth about Yuna and the Valerans no matter what it took. He did not yet know that this decision would change both their lives forever, and possibly alter the course of galactic history. Outside his window, Station Meridian continued its eternal orbit, home to thousands of beings, each with their own stories. But tonight, two very different individuals had found an unexpected connection, and that was just the beginning. 3 weeks passed since Hyunwoo first met Yuna. He had fallen into a comfortable routine. Each morning he would complete his official research tasks, analyzing genetic samples from various species and filing reports. Each afternoon he would visit the botanical gardens. Yuna was always there, tending to the plants with careful attention. At first, their conversations had been brief and awkward. Yuna was not used to talking with anyone, and she seemed constantly surprised that Hyunwoo kept coming back. But gradually she began to open up. Hyunwoo learned that Yuna had been found as an infant drifting in an escape pod near the station. No one knew where she had come from or who had sent her. The station's orphanage had raised her, but she had never truly belonged anywhere. As she grew older and reached maturity, other Valerans on the station had tested her for potential mating compatibility. This was normal practice for endangered species, but every single one had rejected her immediately, saying something was deeply wrong with her genetics. They said I was broken, Yuna told him one day, her voice barely above a whisper. They were sitting among the purple trees from her section of the garden. They said I carried a flaw that would doom any offspring. After all the Valerans rejected me, I thought perhaps another species might accept me. But they all said the same thing. Death in my blood, Hyunwoo frowned. He had brought his portable scanner with him that day, hoping Yuna might allow him to take some readings. May I scan you? He asked gently. Just basic biological data. I won't do anything you're not comfortable with. Yuna hesitated, then nodded. Others have scanned me before. They always see the same thing. But you may try. Hyunwoo activated his scanner and pointed it at Yuna. The device hummed softly as it collected data. He watched the readouts carefully, his scientific training helping him interpret the complex information. Then he saw something that made him stop. This is strange, he muttered. What is? Yuna asked, her voice filled with resignation. She clearly expected him to confirm what everyone else had said. Your genetic structure is unusual, yes, but not in the way they described. Look here. He showed her the scanner display, though he knew she could not interpret the technical readouts. There's a sequence in your DNA that doesn't match standard Valeran patterns. It's like something was added artificially. Added? Yuna leaned closer, studying the screen with interest. What does that mean? I'm not sure yet, Hyunwoo admitted. But it's almost like a lock. A genetic lock that's keeping something hidden. That night, Hyunwoo could not sleep. He kept thinking about what he had discovered. The next morning, instead of going to his official duties, he went straight to the station's archives. He requested all available information about the Velarans and their extinction. The archive terminal displayed a disappointing message. Most files were classified or restricted. The few public records available told the same vague story. 30 years ago, a plague had swept through the Velaran population. Within months, they were all gone. The disease had been studied briefly, but no cure was found and no other species had been affected. Hyunwoo read through the sparse information carefully. Something felt wrong about the whole story. Plagues did not usually work that way. They left survivors, or they spread to other species, or they left more detailed medical records. This felt too clean, too complete. He spent the entire day searching, following every small lead. By evening, he had found nothing useful. Frustrated, he made his way to the gardens. Yuna was waiting for him, and her presence somehow made him feel better. "You did not come this afternoon," she observed. "I thought perhaps you had finally realized the truth about me." "What truth?" Hyunwoo asked, sitting down beside her on a stone bench. "That I am cursed. That you should stay away." "Yuna, I told you I don't believe in curses." He looked at her seriously. "But I do believe something happened to your people. Something that's being hidden. I'm going to find out what." Yuna's eyes widened. "Why would you do that?" "It is dangerous to ask too many questions on this station. There are powerful beings who do not like curiosity." "Because you deserve to know the truth," Hyunwoo said simply. "And because something about this whole situation makes my scientific brain itch." Nothing adds up. Over the following days, Hyunwoo became even more determined. He began visiting the gardens earlier and staying later, bringing Yuna small gifts from Earth. Books, music files, anything he thought might interest her. She seemed amazed by these simple gestures. No one had ever given her gifts before. In return, Yuna taught him about the plants in the gardens. She knew every species, every requirement, every unique characteristic. Her knowledge was impressive, and Hyunwoo found himself genuinely enjoying their time together. She had a quiet intelligence and a dry sense of humor that caught him off guard sometimes. But his research continued to hit walls. Every time he tried to access deeper files about the Velarans, he was denied. Some records required security clearances he did not have. Others seemed to have been deliberately deleted. Then one evening, as he was leaving the gardens, a large figure stepped in front of him. Hyunwoo recognized the uniform immediately. Station security. The security officer was a Orphan, a species known for their strict adherence to rules. His name badge identified him as Taeyang. His face was stern, with the characteristic ridge patterns of his species forming what looked like a permanent frown. "Dr. Hyunwoo," Taeyang said formally, "I need to speak with you." "Of course," Hyunwoo replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Is something wrong?" "You have been accessing restricted files," Taeyang said. "Files about the Velaran extinction. You have also been spending considerable time with the last Velaran. This has been noticed." "I'm a xenobiologist," Hyunwoo explained. "Research is my job." "Your official assignment does not include investigation of extinct species," Taeyang countered. "You are here to study current genetic compatibility patterns. I am instructing you to cease your unauthorized research. I am also advising you to limit your contact with the Velaran female." "Why?" Hyunwoo asked, his scientist's curiosity overriding his caution. "What are you afraid I'll find?" Taeyang's expression did not change, but something flickered in his eyes. "There are laws protecting station residents from unauthorized genetic experimentation. What you are doing could be interpreted as a violation of those laws." "I'm not experimenting on anyone," Hyunwoo protested. "I'm just trying to understand." "Understanding can be dangerous," Taeyang said quietly. Then he leaned closer and lowered his voice. "Take my advice, human. Some secrets are kept secret for a reason. Let this one go, or you may find yourself in serious trouble." After Taeyang left, Hyunwoo stood in the corridor for a long time, thinking. The warning should have scared him off. A smart person would have listened and gone back to his official duties. But Hyunwoo had never been good at taking warnings. If anything, the security officer's words had confirmed his suspicions. There was definitely something being hidden. He made his way back to his quarters, his mind racing. He needed help. Someone who could access systems he could not reach. Someone he could trust. Hyunwoo pulled up his communication terminal and sent a message to Earth. It was addressed to Do-hyun, an old friend from university who now worked as an engineer on Station Meridian. They had not seen each other in years, but Hyunwoo knew Do-hyun was talented with computer systems. The response came within an hour. Do-hyun agreed to meet him the next day in a quiet corner of the station's recreation area. As Hyunwoo prepared for sleep, he thought about Yuna alone in her quarters. She had lived her entire life being rejected, being called cursed, being isolated. No one had ever cared enough to ask why. No one had ever questioned the official story. Humans were still new to the galaxy, and most species thought they were naive and ignorant. Maybe that was true. But humans also had something that many older species had lost, a stubborn refusal to accept things at face value. Hyunwoo was not going to let Yuna spend the rest of her life alone and rejected, without at least trying to find out why. Whatever the truth was, whatever danger it brought, he was committed now. The lonely alien in the gardens deserved better, and he was going to make sure she got it. Do-hyun looked exactly as Hyunwoo remembered. Tall for a human, with an easy smile and sharp eyes that missed nothing. They met in a small cafe tucked away in one of the station's quieter sectors. The place served drinks from a dozen different worlds, and the mix of smells was overwhelming. "It's been too long," Do-hyun said, clasping Hyunwoo's hand warmly. "I heard you were on the station, but wasn't sure you'd reach out. What can I do for you?" Hyunwoo glanced around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned forward. "I need help accessing some restricted files, and I need to do it without leaving a trace." Do-hyun's eyebrows rose. "That's quite a request. What kind of files?" "Information about the Velaran extinction. Everything is classified or deleted. Someone is hiding something and I need to know what." "The Velarans?" Do-hyun looked thoughtful. "I remember learning about them in school. Some kind of plague wiped them out, right?" "That's the official story," Hyunwoo said. "But I don't think it's true. I've met the last surviving Velaran. There's something strange about her genetics, and everyone on this station treats her like she's cursed. Station security has already warned me to stop asking questions." Do-hyun whistled softly. "And naturally being warned off made you more curious. You know me too well, I do." Do-hyun leaned back, considering. "Accessing restricted files is risky. If we get caught, we could both be thrown off the station. Maybe worse." "You're sure about this?" "I'm sure," Hyunwoo said firmly. "Something wrong happened to the Velarans. And this woman, Yuna, she spent her entire life being rejected and isolated because of it. I need to help her." Something in Hyunwoo's tone made Do-hyun smile. "You like her. This isn't just scientific curiosity, is it?" Hyunwoo felt his face grow warm. "I care about her, yes. She's been treated terribly through no fault of her own." "That's not right." "Okay," Do-hyun said, nodding. "I'll help you. But we need to be smart about this. Give me 2 days to set up some false trails and access points. Then we'll see what we can find." Those 2 days felt like the longest of Hyunwoo's life. He continued his official work and visited Yuna in the gardens as usual. He did not tell her about his plan yet. If it failed, there was no point in giving her false hope. But Yuna seemed to sense something was different. "You are worried," she observed one afternoon. They were sitting beneath the purple trees, sharing a meal Hyunwoo had brought from the human section of the station. "Just thinking," Hyunwoo replied. "About me?" "Always," he admitted with a small smile. "I keep wondering what your life would have been like if your people had survived. What kind of person you would be." Yuna was quiet for a moment. "I think about that sometimes too. I wonder if I would have been accepted by them, or if I truly am flawed in some way." She looked at him with those deep, violet eyes. "You are the first person who has ever made me feel like maybe I am not broken." Hyunwoo felt something tighten in his chest. "You're not broken, Yuna. Whatever is different about you, it's not a flaw. I'm going to prove that." On the third day, Do-hyun contacted him. They met in Do-hyun's workspace, a cluttered room filled with engineering equipment and holographic displays. Do-hyun had set up a secure terminal that would route their searches through multiple false locations. "Ready?" Do-hyun asked. "Ready." They began searching. At first, they found the same limited information Hyunwoo had already seen. But Do-hyun was skilled at finding hidden pathways in computer systems. He discovered a cache of encrypted files that had been deliberately hidden in the archives. "Got something?" Do-hyun muttered, his fingers moving rapidly across the controls. "These files are old and heavily protected. Someone really didn't want them found. Give me a minute to break the encryption." Hyunwoo watched tensely as lines of code scrolled across the display. Finally, the encryption broke and the files opened. What they found made Hyunwoo's blood run cold. The files contained detailed reports from 30 years ago. But they were not medical reports about a plague. They were military reports, attack plans, casualty counts, communications between ships. "This isn't a plague," Hyunwoo whispered, reading through the documents. This was genocide. The reports told a terrible story. The Velarans had not died from disease. They had been systematically hunted and killed by forces working for the Zelthari Consortium, a powerful corporate entity that controlled much of the galaxy's faster-than-light travel industry. But why? Do-hyun asked, equally horrified by what they were reading. Why would anyone want to wipe out an entire species? Hyunwoo kept reading, his scientific training helping him piece together the information. Then he found it. A report about Velaran biology and a unique compound their bodies produce naturally. This, he said, pointing to the document. The Velarans could naturally produce a compound called Velaran essence. It's one of the key components used in faster-than-light drives. The Zelthari Consortium has always controlled the synthesis of this compound. They hold the patents and make enormous profits from it. So the Velarans were competition, Do-hyun said slowly. Worse than that, the Velarans could produce the compound naturally, without needing the expensive synthesis process. If that became widely known, the consortium would lose their monopoly. They would lose trillions in revenue. So they killed them all, Do-hyun finished, his voice filled with disgust. But Hyunwoo was still reading. He had found another set of files, these ones written in Velaran script. They appeared to be scientific notes from Velaran researchers, dated just before the extinction. "Can you translate this?" he asked Do-hyun. Do-hyun ran the text through a translation program. Slowly, the words appeared in Galactic Common. Hyunwoo read them carefully, his heart pounding. The last Velaran scientists had known they were being hunted. They had known their species was doomed. But they had done something desperate and brilliant. They had taken the genetic sequence responsible for producing Velaran essence and hidden it using advanced genetic encryption. They had locked it away where scanners could not detect it. And they had placed that locked sequence into the DNA of an infant they had sent away in an escape pod, hoping she might survive and carry the true Velaran legacy forward. Yuna, Hyunwoo breathed. She's not cursed or flawed. She's protected. They hid the genetic sequence in her DNA so the consortium couldn't find it. But why would other Velarans reject her then? Do-hyun asked. Hyunwoo kept reading. The lock responds to genetic compatibility scanners by showing false data. It makes her appear genetically incompatible with everyone. It's camouflage. Anyone looking for the Velaran essence gene would scan her, see nothing useful and move on. It's brilliant. So how do you unlock it? Do-hyun asked. Hyunwoo found that information in the final notes. His eyes widened as he read. It requires specific environmental conditions that mimic the Velaran homeworld. And it requires the presence of genetically compatible genetic material from a different species. The lock was designed to only open when Yuna was truly safe, with someone who could be a genuine partner. What species? Do-hyun asked. Hyunwoo pulled up a comparison chart, running Yuna's hidden genetic markers against known species databases. When the results appeared, both men stared in shock. Humans, Hyunwoo said softly. The genetic compatibility markers match humans. Of all the species in the galaxy, humans are the ones who can unlock Yuna's true DNA. Do-hyun let out a long breath. That's incredible. And incredibly dangerous. If the Zelthari Consortium finds out that Yuna can actually produce Velaran essence, they'll come for her. I know, Hyunwoo said. He felt torn between excitement at the discovery and fear for Yuna's safety. But she deserves to know the truth. She spent her whole life thinking she was broken. She needs to know that she's actually carrying the greatest treasure of her people. What are you going to do? Do-hyun asked. Hyunwoo thought for a long moment. I'm going to tell her everything. And then I'm going to offer to help her unlock her true genetics. But only if she wants to. It has to be her choice. That's going to make her a target, Do-hyun warned, I know. But keeping her locked and hidden isn't much of a life either. At least if she knows the truth, she can make her own decisions. They copied all the files onto a secure data chip and erased their traces as best they could. As Hyunwoo left Do-hyun's workspace, his friend called after him. Hyunwoo, be careful. The Zelthari Consortium doesn't mess around. If they even suspect what you know, you're both in danger. I will, Hyunwoo promised. But as he made his way toward the gardens, he knew careful might not be enough. He was about to reveal a secret that powerful beings had killed to protect. A secret that could change everything for Yuna, and possibly for the entire galaxy. Hyunwoo found Yuna in her usual spot, tending to a bed of crystalline flowers that chimed softly in the filtered air. She looked up when he approached, and her expression immediately changed to concern. "Something is wrong," she said. It was not a question. "Not wrong," Hyunwoo said carefully. "But I need to talk to you. Somewhere private." Yuna led him to a small maintenance room at the edge of the gardens. It was filled with tools and supplies, but it was quiet and isolated. She closed the door and turned to face him, her violet eyes searching his face. "You found something," she said. "Yes." Hyunwoo pulled out the data chip Do-hyun had given him. "Yuna, what I'm about to tell you is going to change everything. Your people, the Valarans, they didn't die from a plague. They were murdered." He watched her face carefully as he explained everything. The Zelthari Consortium, the Valeran essence, the systematic genocide. Yuna listened without interrupting, but he could see her hands trembling. "They killed everyone," she whispered when he finished. "All of my people. For money." "I'm so sorry," Hyunwoo said softly. "But there's more. The last Valaran scientists, they hid something. They hid it in you." He explained about the genetic lock, about how her DNA had been deliberately altered to hide the Valaran essence gene, about how the lock made her appear incompatible to everyone, protecting her from being discovered by the consortium. "So I am not cursed," Yuna said slowly. "I am protected. Yes, your people's final act was to save you and hide their most precious genetic gift inside you. You're not broken, Yuna. You're carrying the last hope of the Valaran people." Yuna sat down heavily on a supply crate. For a long moment she said nothing, processing everything she had learned. Then she looked up at him with an expression that made his heart ache. "Can it be unlocked?" she asked. "Yes," Hyunwoo said. "But there are conditions. It requires specific environmental factors like the light from your homeworld sun, and it requires genetic material from a compatible species." "What species?" Hyunwoo took a deep breath. "Humans. Of all the species in the galaxy, human DNA has the right compatibility markers to unlock your genetics." Yuna stared at him. "You? It has to be you." "Or any human," Hyunwoo clarified, though his chest felt tight at the thought of someone else being involved. "But yes, that's why I can help you. If you want to do this. If I unlock it, what happens? Your true Valaran genetics will activate. Your bioluminescent markings should light up properly, and you'll be able to produce Valaran essence naturally. But Yuna, you need to understand what that means. If the Zelthari Consortium finds out, they'll come after you. They killed your entire species to control that compound. They won't hesitate to capture you. So my choices are to stay locked and hidden forever or to become myself and be hunted," Yuna said bitterly. "Those aren't your only choices," Hyunwoo said firmly. "If you choose to unlock your genetics, you won't face them alone. Humanity is still new to the galactic community, but we're not powerless. Earth's government would offer you protection if you asked for it. And I'll be with you every step of the way." Yuna looked at him for a long moment. "Why are you doing this? You could have ignored me like everyone else. You could have stayed safe and done your official work. Why risk everything for me?" Hyunwoo moved closer, kneeling in front of her so their eyes were level. "Because you deserve better than what you've been given. Because the way everyone has treated you is wrong. And because," he hesitated, then decided to be honest. "Because I care about you, Yuna. More than I probably should, considering we've only known each other a few weeks. But I do." Something flickered in Yuna's expression. "I care about you too," she said softly. "You are the first person who has ever seen me as something other than cursed. The first person who has ever given me hope." "So what do you want to do?" Hyunwoo asked. Yuna was quiet for a long time, thinking. Finally she spoke. "I want to know who I truly am. I have spent my entire life feeling broken and wrong. If there is a chance to understand myself, to be complete, I want to take it. Even if it is dangerous." Hyunwoo felt relief and fear in equal measure. "Then we'll do it. But we need to be smart about it. We need to create the right conditions and be prepared for what might happen after." Over the next several days they made careful preparations. Hyunwoo studied the scientific notes from the Valaran researchers, learning exactly what environmental conditions were needed. Do-hyun helped by quietly acquiring special lighting equipment that could mimic the spectrum of the Valaran homeworld sun. They decided to perform the activation in the gardens. Late at night, when the station was quieter, It would be private but still within the relative safety of a public area. Hyunwoo also prepared a message to be sent to Earth automatically if anything went wrong, alerting his government to the situation. Yuna seemed calm but distant during these days. Hyunwoo understood. She was about to discover who she truly was, after a lifetime of being told she was flawed. That was terrifying and exciting at the same time. Finally, the night came. They met in the garden section where the purple trees grew. Do-hyun had set up the special lights and then left, promising to monitor the situation from his workspace. If anything went wrong, he would alert station security. Hyunwoo and Yuna stood together under the artificial Velaran sunlight. The special spectrum made everything look slightly different, casting strange shadows. "Are you ready?" Hyunwoo asked. "I think so," Yuna replied. "What do I need to do?" According to the notes, the activation happens naturally when the conditions are right. The environmental trigger combined with close proximity to compatible genetic material, so I just need to be close to you. How close? Hyunwoo stepped forward until they were standing very close together. Like this, probably. Yuna looked up at him. They were so close he could see the faint patterns in her skin, the markings that had always been dull and lifeless. "I am afraid," she admitted quietly. "So am I," Hyunwoo said honestly. "But I'm here with you. Whatever happens, you're not alone." Yuna reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool to the touch, slightly different in texture from human skin, but not unpleasantly so. They stood there together under the artificial sunlight, waiting. At first, nothing happened. Minutes passed, and Hyunwoo began to worry that they had done something wrong. Then Yuna gasped. "Something is happening," she whispered. Hyunwoo watched in amazement as the markings on Yuna's skin began to glow, softly at first, then brighter. The patterns lit up in beautiful colors, blues and purples and silvers that seemed to dance across her skin. The light was not harsh but gentle, like moonlight reflecting on water. "It's beautiful," Hyunwoo breathed. "You're beautiful." The glow intensified, spreading across her entire body. Yuna's eyes widened as she felt changes happening inside her. Genetic locks releasing, dormant sequences activating, her true Velaran heritage awakening after 30 years of sleep. "I can feel it," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "I can feel everything. My empathic sense, it's working. I can sense your emotions, Hyunwoo. You're afraid but also happy. You care about me deeply." "I do," he confirmed, squeezing her hand. The transformation continued for several minutes. When it finally stabilized, Yuna stood before him completely changed. Her markings glowed with steady, beautiful light. Her eyes seemed brighter, more alive. She looked like herself but also like someone entirely new. "How do you feel?" Hyunwoo asked. "Complete," Yuna said, tears running down her face. "For the first time in my life, I feel complete. Not broken. Not cursed. Just me." Then her expression changed. "Hyunwoo, I can sense something else. My body is producing the Velaran essence. I can feel it in my system." "That's your true genetics at work," Hyunwoo explained. "Your people were remarkable. This ability was part of who they were." Yuna looked at her glowing hands in wonder. Then she looked at Hyunwoo and he saw something new in her eyes. Not just gratitude but genuine affection, perhaps even love. "Thank you," she said simply, "for seeing me, for believing in me, for giving me this." Before Hyunwoo could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the gardens. Red lights flashed in the corridors beyond. They heard running footsteps and shouting voices. "What's happening?" Yuna asked, fear creeping into her voice. Hyunwoo checked his portable scanner and felt his stomach drop. "Your activation created a biological signature. A strong one. If there are any sophisticated scanners on the station, they would have detected it," Yuna finished. "The consortium. They know." "We need to move," Hyunwoo said urgently. "Now." But even as they turned to run, they heard more footsteps approaching from multiple directions. They were surrounded. The secret was out, and the hunters were coming. The first agents burst into the garden section within minutes. Hyunwoo grabbed Yuna's hand and pulled her toward the maintenance corridors, moving as fast as they could. Behind them, harsh voices shouted commands in multiple languages. "There! The Velaran and the human!" They ran through narrow passages that wound through the station's infrastructure. Pipes hissed with steam, and emergency lighting cast everything in red. Hyunwoo's heart pounded in his chest. He had known this was a possibility, but he had hoped they would have more time to prepare. "Where are we going?" Yuna gasped as they ran. "I don't know," Hyunwoo admitted. "Somewhere safe." Somewhere we can hide and figure out what to do. His communication device buzzed. He answered it while still running. Do-hyun's voice came through urgently. Hyun-woo, what happened? There are Zelthari security teams all over the station. They're looking for you and Yuna. Her activation created a signature, Hyun-woo explained quickly. They detected it. We're being hunted. Get to maintenance section 12, Do-hyun said. There's an old storage area down there that most people have forgotten about. I'll meet you there. They changed direction, following the signs toward section 12. More footsteps echoed behind them. These hunters were well-trained and organized. They were closing in fast. Hyun-woo and Yuna reached the storage area just as their pursuers rounded the corner behind them. They ducked inside and Hyun-woo sealed the door. It would not hold for long, but it might buy them a few minutes. The storage area was filled with old equipment and supplies. Dust covered everything. Do-hyun arrived moments later through a different entrance, breathing hard. We don't have much time, he said. Those doors won't stop them. Who are they? Yuna asked, her glowing markings pulsing with her fear. Zelthari Consortium Security, Do-hyun replied. They have legal authority on most of the station. And they're not alone. Word is spreading fast. Half the station knows something valuable has been found. Hyun-woo's mind raced, trying to think of a solution. They were trapped on a station controlled by the very organization that had committed genocide against Yuna's people. Going to station security would not help because the consortium had too much influence. We need to get off the station, he said. Is there any way? Not easily, Do-hyun said. All the docking bays are monitored. They'll have guards at every exit by now. Then a new voice spoke from the shadows. There might be another way. All three of them spun around. Taeyang, the Korthan security officer who had warned Hyun-woo weeks ago, stepped into view. Hyun-woo instinctively moved in front of Yuna, but Taeyang raised his hands to show he was not armed. Easy, Taeyang said. I'm not here to arrest you. Why should we trust you? Hyun-woo demanded. Because my people were once exploited by the Zelthari Consortium too, Taeyang said quietly. They strip-mined our colony worlds and left them poisoned. I know what they're capable of. When I heard what you discovered about the Valoran genocide, I knew I had to help. You knew? Yuna asked, her voice sharp. I suspected, Taeyang corrected. The official story about the plague never made sense. But I had no proof, and questioning the consortium is dangerous even for station security. He looked at Hyun-woo. You found proof, didn't you? In the restricted files. We did, Hyun-woo confirmed. They killed an entire species to maintain their monopoly. Then we need to make sure that proof becomes public, Taeyang said. And we need to keep the last Valoran alive to testify. Can you do that? Before anyone could answer, the sealed door began to glow. Someone outside was using a cutting torch. They had maybe 30 seconds before the door failed. This way, Taeyang said, moving toward the back of the storage area. There's a service tunnel that leads to the lower maintenance levels. Most people don't know about it. They followed him through a narrow opening in the wall. The tunnel beyond was dark and cramped, barely wide enough for a person to walk through. Behind them, they heard the door crash open and angry voices shouting. They went through the back. Find them! The group moved as quickly as they could through the tunnel. It twisted and turned, sometimes climbing, sometimes descending. Yuna's glowing markings provided the only light, casting strange patterns on the walls. Where are we going? Do-hyun asked. The lower levels, Taeyang replied. There are areas down there where even station security rarely goes. We can hide temporarily while we figure out our next move. They emerged into a vast chamber filled with ancient machinery. This was one of the original sections of the station, built decades ago when it was first constructed. The air was stale and everything was covered in grime, but it felt safer than the upper levels. Taeyang checked his security scanner. We're not being tracked down here. The old systems don't connect to the main network. We have some time. Hyun-woo helped Yuna sit down on a storage container. She looked exhausted, her glowing markings flickering with fatigue. The activation had taken a lot out of her, and the stress of running had made it worse. Are you okay? He asked softly. I will be, Yuna replied. I am just not used to all of this. The changes, the running, everything. I know, Hyun-woo said, squeezing her hand. I'm sorry. I should have anticipated this better. You gave me the truth, Yuna said firmly. That was worth any risk. Do-hyun was working on his portable terminal, his fingers moving rapidly. I'm trying to access the station's communication network from down here. If we can get a message out, we might be able to call for help. Who would help us? Yuna asked. The consortium has power everywhere. Earth, Hyunwoo said. Humanity is still new enough that we don't owe the consortium any favors. If we can get a message to my government, they might be willing to intervene. It's a long shot, Taeyang warned. The consortium will do everything they can to stop that message from being sent. Then we need to make sure they can't stop it, Do-hyun said, still working. I'm setting up a broadcast protocol. If I can access the station's main communication array, I can send a message that reaches multiple systems simultaneously. They won't be able to block all of them. While Do-hyun worked, Hyunwoo sat with Yuna. She was still marveling at her transformation, looking at her glowing hands with a mixture of wonder and fear. I can sense so much now, she said quietly. My empathic abilities are fully active. I can feel your determination, Hyunwoo, and your fear for me. I can feel Do-hyun's concentration and Taeyang's guilt. Guilt? Hyunwoo looked at the security officer. Taeyang nodded slowly. I should have investigated the Velaran extinction years ago. I had suspicions, but I was afraid. Afraid of losing my position. Afraid of what I might find. My cowardice allowed Yuna to suffer alone for all these years. You are helping now, Yuna said softly. That matters. Got it, Do-hyun announced suddenly. I'm into the communication array. But we need to be quick. As soon as I start broadcasting, they'll trace the signal. What should we say? Hyunwoo asked. The truth, Yuna said firmly. She stood up, her markings glowing brighter. I will testify. I will tell everyone what was done to my people. And I will show them what I am. Do-hyun set up his recording equipment. In a few minutes they would broadcast to the galaxy. But Hyunwoo knew that as soon as they did, the consortium would know exactly where they were. This moment of revelation would also be the moment of greatest danger. He looked at Yuna, standing tall despite everything. She had gone from a lonely, rejected orphan to someone ready to face the entire galaxy, and she was not backing down. Whatever happens, Hyunwoo said to her, I'm proud of you. Yuna smiled, her first genuine smile since the transformation. And I am grateful for you. You gave me back my life. Ready? Do-hyun asked, his hand over the transmit button. They all nodded. Do-hyun pressed the button and Yuna began to speak. Her words would reach hundreds of worlds, billions of beings. The truth about the Velaran genocide was finally going to be heard. But even as she spoke, Hyunwoo heard new sounds in the distance. Footsteps. Many footsteps. The consortium's forces were closing in, and this time there would be no escape. The final confrontation was coming, and Hyunwoo knew they were badly outnumbered. He looked at his friends, at Yuna with her glowing markings and determined expression, and made a decision. If this was where they would make their stand, then they would make it count. The truth was out now. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would know what the Zelthari consortium had done, and Hyunwoo was not going to let them take Yuna without a fight. The broadcast went out across multiple channels simultaneously. Yuna's voice, calm but filled with emotion, told her story to the galaxy. She spoke of being raised alone, rejected by all. She spoke of learning the truth about her people's genocide, and she showed her glowing markings to the cameras, proof that she was truly Velaran, and that the genetic gift her people carried still existed. Within minutes, responses began flooding in from across the station and beyond. Some were messages of support, others were threats. But most importantly, people were watching. The truth was spreading faster than the consortium could contain it. They're coming, Taeyang warned, checking his scanner. Multiple teams converging on this location. We have maybe 5 minutes. The message is out, Do-hyun said, shutting down his equipment. That's what matters. Now we need to survive long enough for help to arrive. If help arrives, Hyunwoo muttered. He looked around the chamber, assessing their situation. They were trapped in the lower levels with no weapons and no real way to defend themselves. Against trained consortium security forces, they stood no chance in a direct fight. Then Yuna spoke, her voice thoughtful. My markings. When I activated, the biological signature was strong enough to be detected across the station. What if I could use that? Use it how? Hyunwoo asked. I do not fully understand my abilities yet, Yuna admitted, but I can feel the Velaran essence in my system. It is energy, light. What if I could release it in a burst? That might blind them, Taeyang said slowly. Or disrupt their equipment. Velaran light has unusual properties. It was one of the reasons the essence was so valuable for FTL travel. It could also hurt you, Hyunwoo protested. You don't know what releasing that much energy would do. We have to try something, Yuna said. I did not come this far just to be captured. Before they could discuss it further, the first consortium troops appeared. They entered through multiple access points surrounding the chamber. There were at least 20 of them, all armed and armored. Leading them was a human male in an expensive suit, his face hard and calculating. That's Minho, Taeyang said quietly. He's the consortium's regional director, and a human trader who sold out to them decades ago. Minho stepped forward, his voice echoing through the chamber. Dr. Hyunwoo, Ms. Yuna, I suggest you surrender peacefully. You have nowhere to go, and resistance will only make things worse. Worse than genocide? Hyunwoo called back. The galaxy knows what you did now. The truth is out. The truth is complicated, Minho replied smoothly. What happened to the Valerans was unfortunate but necessary for the greater good. The stability of galactic commerce, the flow of faster-than-light travel, these things depend on order. The Valerans threatened that order. They threatened your profits, Yuna said, her voice sharp. You killed my entire species for money. I didn't kill anyone, Minho said. I simply work for an organization that makes difficult decisions. And now I'm afraid another difficult decision must be made. You're coming with us, Ms. Yuna. The consortium has need of your unique abilities. I will never help you, Yuna declared. Minho sighed. I was hoping you would be reasonable. Very well, capture them. Use force if necessary. The troops began to advance. Taeyang moved in front of the group, his security training evident in his stance. Do-hyun grabbed a piece of old pipe from the floor, holding it like a weapon. Hyunwoo positioned himself between the troops and Yuna, his heart pounding but his resolve firm. Then something unexpected happened. More people began arriving in the chamber, but these were not consortium troops. Station residents, dozens of them, entered through the various access points. There were aliens of multiple species, including several humans. Many were workers from the lower levels. Others were merchants and traders. They carried improvised weapons and looked angry. What is this? Minho demanded. One of the new arrivals, a tall alien with green skin, stepped forward. We heard the broadcast. We heard what the consortium did to the Valerans, and we're tired of being pushed around by corporate bullies. This ends now. More residents kept arriving, flowing into the chamber until there were at least 100 of them. The consortium troops suddenly found themselves surrounded and outnumbered. Minho's confident expression faltered. You're interfering with corporate security operations, he warned. This is illegal. So is genocide, the green alien replied. We're not letting you take her. Hyunwoo felt a surge of hope. He had not expected this. Station Meridian was home to countless beings who had been exploited or controlled by the consortium in one way or another. Yuna's story had touched something in them, reminded them of their own struggles. But Minho was not finished. He pulled out a communication device and spoke into it rapidly. Within minutes, more troops began arriving. These were better armed and wore the uniforms of consortium military forces, not just security. Last chance, Minho called out. Hand over the Valeran or we will take her by force. And anyone who stands in our way will be arrested for terrorism. The station residents did not back down. Tensions rose as the two groups faced each other. Hyunwoo knew this was about to turn into a battle, and people were going to get hurt. Then Yuna stepped forward, moving past Hyunwoo despite his attempt to stop her. Her markings blazed with light, brighter than they had been before. When she spoke, her voice carried a power that silenced everyone. Enough. I will not let innocents fight my battle. If the consortium wants me, let them face me directly. Her emotions were running high. Fear and anger and determination all mixed together, and as those emotions surged through her, something amazing happened. The Valaran essence in her system responded. The light from her markings grew impossibly bright, filling the entire chamber with radiant energy. The consortium troops raised their weapons, but the light interfered with their targeting systems. Visors cracked. Electronic equipment sparked and failed. The soldiers stumbled back, unable to see properly through the brilliant glow. Hyunwoo shielded his eyes, but he could still see Yuna at the center of the light. She looked like a star, blazing with power that had been locked away for 30 years. This was what the Valerans had been. This was their gift, but he could also see the toll it was taking on her. Her body was trembling, unused to channeling so much energy. She could not maintain this for long. Minho had fallen back with his troops temporarily blinded. But he was already calling for reinforcements. More soldiers would come, and eventually they would overwhelm even Yuna's power. "We need to move now," Taeyang shouted over the noise. While they're disoriented, "Get to the docking bays." "There's no way off the station," Doyun protested. "There might be," Taeyang replied. "I have access to an emergency shuttle in the security sector. It's small, but it could get you away from here." The station residents formed a protective barrier around Hyunwoo's group as they moved. Yuna dimmed her light enough to see by but maintained a steady glow that kept the consortium troops at bay. They made their way through corridors and passages, moving as fast as they could. Behind them, alarms blared. More consortium forces were mobilizing throughout the station. It seemed like the entire organization had descended on Meridian to capture Yuna. They reached the security sector, and Taeyang led them to a small docking bay. True to his word, there was an emergency shuttle waiting. It was designed for only 4 people, cramped but functional. "Go," Taeyang urged. "I'll stay and try to slow them down." "Come with us," Hyunwoo said. "Someone needs to coordinate with the residents who are helping," Taeyang replied. "And besides, I'm station security. This is my home. I'll stay and fight for it." There was no time to argue. Hyunwoo, Yuna, and Dohyun boarded the shuttle. The engines powered up as consortium troops finally reached the docking bay. They fired at the shuttle, but its shields held. Just barely. As they launched from the station, Hyunwoo looked back through the viewport. He could see Station Meridian hanging in space, its lights flickering as the conflict continued inside. He hoped Taeyang and the others would be okay. "Where are we going?" Dohyun asked from the pilot's seat. "Earth," Hyunwoo said firmly. "It's the only place the consortium doesn't have complete control. We need to get there and ask for protection. That's a long journey in this small shuttle," Dohyun warned. "And the consortium will be looking for us." "Then we'll be careful," Hyunwoo replied. Yuna had dimmed her markings completely, exhausted from using so much power. She leaned against Hyunwoo, her body trembling. He wrapped an arm around her, holding her close. "You were incredible back there," he said softly. "I was terrified," Yuna admitted, "but I could not let them win. Not after everything." "Rest now," Hyunwoo said. "We have a long trip ahead of us." As the shuttle jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving Station Meridian behind, Hyunwoo allowed himself a moment of relief. They had survived. The truth was out. And Yuna was safe, at least for now. But he knew this was not over. The Zelthari consortium would not give up easily. They would hunt Yuna across the galaxy if they had to. The real fight was just beginning, and the outcome would determine not just their fates but possibly the future of interspecies relations throughout the galaxy. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks in the small emergency shuttle. It was cramped and uncomfortable, but they made it work. Dohyun handled most of the piloting, while Hyunwoo monitored communications and helped care for Yuna as she recovered from the strain of using her powers. During the long voyage, they watched as the galaxy reacted to Yuna's broadcast. News networks across hundreds of worlds picked up the story. The evidence Hyunwoo and Dohyun had uncovered was being analyzed by independent researchers. Slowly but surely, the truth about the Velaran genocide was being confirmed. The Zelthari consortium initially denied everything. They claimed the broadcast was propaganda, that Yuna was a fake, that the documents were forged. But as more evidence emerged, their denials became less convincing. Multiple species began demanding investigations. The galactic community, usually slow to act, was actually paying attention. "There are protests on consortium-controlled worlds," Dohyun reported one day, reading the news feeds. "People are calling for accountability. This is bigger than I expected." "Good," Yuna said quietly. She was sitting in the small observation area, watching the stars. Her markings glowed softly, a constant reminder of what she had become. "My people deserve justice, even if it comes 30 years too late." As they approached Earth's solar system, they received a communication from human authorities. Earth's government had been following the story and was prepared to offer Yuna asylum. But there were conditions. She would need to appear before the Galactic Council and testify formally. She would need to allow scientists to study her abilities, though they promised it would be voluntary and respectful, and she would need to make a decision about her future. What kind of decision? Yuna asked when Hyunwoo explained the message. "About the Velaran essence," Hyunwoo said carefully. Multiple organizations want access to it. Some want to study it. Others want to negotiate deals for its production. You're the only source in the galaxy, Yuna. That makes you incredibly valuable. You mean they want to use me? Yuna said flatly. Just like the consortium wanted to use my people. Not necessarily, Hyunwoo replied. Earth's government is proposing something different. They want to recognize your complete autonomy over your own biology. You would decide if, when, and how the essence is shared. No one could force you or exploit you. It's a new concept in galactic law. Why would they do that? Yuna asked, suspicious after so many years of being rejected. Because humans tend to value individual rights very highly, Do-hyun explained. It's part of our culture. We have this idea that people own themselves, their bodies, their choices. Not everyone in the galaxy thinks that way, but we do. The shuttle finally arrived at Earth, the blue-green planet beautiful against the darkness of space. They were escorted to a landing facility where representatives from multiple human governments waited to meet them. Security was tight, as there were concerns the consortium might try something even here. Yuna's first steps on Earth were tentative. The gravity was slightly different from Station Meridian, and the air smelled strange to her. But Hyunwoo was beside her, and that made it bearable. Over the following weeks, Yuna was introduced to Earth's leaders and scientists. She testified before the Galactic Council through secure communication, telling her story in detail. The evidence was overwhelming, and even the consortium's allies could not ignore it. Investigations were launched. Arrest warrants were issued for consortium executives. The organization that had seemed untouchable was finally facing consequences, but the political battles were exhausting, and Yuna grew tired of being a symbol and a witness. She wanted to be a person again. She wanted to make her own choices about her life. One evening, she and Hyunwoo walked through a garden on Earth. It reminded her of the botanical gardens on Station Meridian. But everything here was native to this world. The plants were different, but the peace was the same. I have been thinking, Yuna said as they walked, about what I want to do with my life now. What do you want? Hyunwoo asked. I want to honor my people's memory, Yuna said, but not by being a resource or a tool. I want to share the Valoran essence freely with those who will use it responsibly. I want to work with scientists to understand my abilities better, and I want to help create laws that protect other species from what happened to mine. Those are good goals, Hyunwoo said encouragingly. Yuna stopped walking and turned to face him. And I want to be with you, not because you can unlock my genetics or because you saved me, but because in all the galaxy, you are the one person who makes me feel truly seen, truly valued. Hyunwoo felt his heart skip. He had been hoping she felt the same way he did, but he had not wanted to pressure her. She had been through so much, and her feelings might have been confused by everything that happened. Are you sure? He asked softly. I'm human, you're Valoran. We're different species. The galaxy might not understand. The galaxy does not have to understand, Yuna replied. My people's last gift to me was the ability to choose my own partner, someone I truly connect with. I choose you, Hyunwoo, if you will have me. Of course I will, Hyunwoo said, taking her hands. I've cared about you since the moment I saw you alone in those gardens. I just wanted to make sure you had time to figure out what you really wanted. They stood together in the Earth Garden, two beings from different worlds who had found each other against impossible odds. Yuna's markings glowed softly, and Hyunwoo realized he could sense her emotions through them now. Happiness, relief, love. There is something else, Yuna said shyly. According to the research we found, human Valoran genetic compatibility is very high. If we were to mate to have offspring, they would carry both of our genetic traits. A new species, Hyunwoo said, awed by the idea. Part human, part Valoran. Is that something you would want? Yuna asked. Someday, yes, Hyunwoo replied. When we're ready. When the galaxy is a safer place. But right now, I just want to be with you. They formally announced their intention to mate a few weeks later. The news shocked many in the galactic community. Some species found the idea of human Valoran pairing bizarre. Others were fascinated. But Earth's government publicly supported them, and that mattered most. The Galactic Council eventually passed new laws inspired by Yuna's case. Species had the right to autonomy over their own biological properties. Genocide was officially recognized as the ultimate crime with severe penalties. And corporations were forbidden from exploiting endangered species for profit. The Zeltari consortium did not collapse entirely, but it was heavily sanctioned and forced to restructure. Many of its executives faced trial. Minho, the human traitor, was arrested and brought to justice. It was not perfect justice, and it could not bring back the Velarans, but it was something. Taeyang sent them messages from Station Meridian. He had been promoted to head of station security and was working to make the station a safer place for all residents. The beings who had helped defend Yuna were recognized as heroes. The station itself became a symbol of resistance against corporate exploitation. 6 months after arriving on Earth, Yuna stood before a large audience at a human university. She was giving a lecture about Velaran culture and biology. Students from multiple species listened with fascination as she described her people's history, their values, and their tragic end. But she also spoke about hope. About how one human had refused to accept the lies and had dug until he found the truth. About how ordinary station residents had stood up against powerful forces. About how the galaxy could change when people chose courage over comfort. "My people are gone," Yuna said, her markings glowing as she spoke. "But their legacy lives on in me, and I carry a message they left encoded in my very DNA. It says that love, not force, is the key to the stars. That genuine connection between beings is more valuable than any resource or profit. That we are strongest when we choose understanding over exploitation." After the lecture, Hyunwoo waited for her outside the auditorium. She came out looking tired but satisfied. Her glowing markings had become familiar to people now, no longer strange or frightening. "How did it go?" he asked. "Good," Yuna replied, taking his hand. "I think they understood." They walked together through the university campus. Spring had come to this part of Earth, and flowers were blooming. Yuna had started a small garden at their home, growing both earth plants and some species she remembered from Station Meridian. She was building a new life, one that honored her past while embracing her future. "I received a message today," Yuna said as they walked, "from a Velaran research facility. They want to study the genetic information I carry, to see if it might be possible to clone my people, to bring Velarans back from extinction." "What did you tell them?" Hyunwoo asked. "I said I would think about it," Yuna replied. "The idea of bringing back my species is wonderful. But I also wonder if that is the right thing to do. Would they be Velarans or just copies? Would they have their own choices, or would they be created to serve a purpose?" "Those are good questions," Hyunwoo said. "And whatever you decide, I'll support you." That night, they sat together on the balcony of their home looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Station Meridian, and beyond it, thousands of worlds where beings were living their lives.